Let's continue the second half of the 4th chapter of the journey home. May this reading relax your mind and awaken your heart. We'll dive right into it. One morning, while walking along a forest trail, a sadhu with a curious smile plastered across his face stepped right in front of me, refusing to let me pass. His almond-shaped eyes squinted into mine. He had a tiny nose, flat face. Don't know where I got the word circle from. Flat face, cropped hair, and a copper complexion. Who was this man? And what did he want from me? I've been sent for you, he said. But you do not recognize me. Surprised but silent, I wondered what was about to transpire. He gripped my hand. The greatest of saints lives in a cave nearby. My mission is to bring you to him. How do you know me? I asked. That you do not need to know. Follow me. Intrigued, I followed the sadhu, who told me he hailed from Nepal, into the depths of the forest where we walked along a stream on an overgrown path. As we passed, we crunched the twigs and trampled the foliage beneath our feet while rustling through the bushes. To our left, wild boar scuttled into the brush. We approached a clearing where my guide pointed up to a mountain top. There I could see the smoke-blackening entrances to 3 caves. The sadhu led me up a set of narrow stone steps that were more like a 30-foot ladder carved into the steep rock. After climbing to the top, we entered one of the caves where a fog of smoke burned our eyes. There, in the lotus posture, with back erect, sat an amazing being. His thickly matted hair extended beyond his back and several feet onto the ground behind him. About 6 feet tall, his physique was powerful. He wore only a rope around his waist and a loincloth covering his groin. His eyes were closed in meditation. He seemed to have entered into another world, a world far beyond time or space. An aura of indescribable tranquility emanated from his motionless form. This was Mahavirdas Tatwala Baba. Oh, wow. I was not expecting this. This is a very holy saint indeed. We sat beside him, patiently waiting. The scent of smoldering wood from his sacred fire blended with the earthiness of the ancient cave. Holy Sanskrit scriptures lay on a stone shelf. His wardrobe, a wrapper of old burlap, was folded beside him. The Nepalese sadhu told me that he often meditated all night long. Let us wait patiently, he said, until he comes out of his spiritual trance. Finally, the yogi opened his dark, shining eyes and stared into mine with the intensity of laser beams. My guide served as a translator. In a deep, compelling voice, the Baba spoke. God is one, and everything originates only from him. Lifting his palm, he touched his index finger to his thumb. The cause of all suffering is when we forget our identity with God. That is called Maya, or illusion. God is everywhere. You need not search to find him. If you call him with sincerity, he will reveal himself to you. God sees within the heart, not the externals. There must be no duplicity. You may wander through the jungles your whole life, but God is within your heart. When you meet him there, you will see that he is everywhere. I was struck that he seemed to address my deepest concerns. I was a wanderer, looking for God in my heart. The Baba's hands then rested on his knees. His dark eyes emitted power and vibrancy and seemed to read my mind. People are chasing the temporary. Do you not see that they are on the road to death? His every word seemed like a sword cutting my own selfish conditionings. You have renounced worldly life. This is good. Do not go back. Meditation will bring you supreme peace. We spent the hour listening to him. I left with the promise that we would return the next day. After climbing back down the ladder of stone, the sadhu and I were greeted by an ascetic woman in a simple white sari with a long black braid down her back. Mirabai and her husband lived in the forest, and they cooked meals for all of Tatwala Baba's followers. She promptly invited us to her home. "Would you like to hear about Baba?" she asked, as we followed behind her. "Yes," I replied. The Nepalese sadhu nodded. "Well," she began, "Baba was from the state of Punjab. From early childhood, questions burned in his mind. When he saw the suppression of the Indians under British rule, he wondered why a country with so many saints and scriptures did not have a solution for the suffering condition. Burning with the thirst for enlightenment, as a child he abandoned his home to search for a guru. First he went to Ayodhya, which is Lord Rama's birthplace, and then entered into the forests of the Himalayas, where he met with his guru. At the feet of his master, he learned the path of enlightenment." The three of us approached a hut made of clay and straw. Mirabai graciously opened the wooden door and invited us in. Offering us a mat to sit on and a clay cup of water, she asked, "Shall I tell you more?" "Please," I urged, savoring the cool water she'd collected from the stream. "Since the age of about 16, Baba has remained in these caves. He subsists only on wild herbs and fruits and wraps a worthless burlap cloth, which we call tat, around himself for clothes. That is why he was given the name Tatwala Baba, meaning a Baba or holy man who is clothed with burlap cloth." She went on to say that for 15 years he lived in seclusion, perfecting the practice of Ashtanga Yoga. Gradually, people recognized his enlightened state and started coming to him. He never allowed anyone to touch his body or cook for him. She took a deep breath and opened her eyes wide in awe. "With my own eyes, I have witnessed his power to read people's minds, see into the future, and heal the sick. In fact, when a yogi had unbearable migraine headaches, Baba came to him in a dream, removed a white fluid from his head by mantra, and cured him forever." I felt so privileged to be there. She directed our gaze to a photo she kept of the Baba on her small altar, and with folded palms she asked, "Would you like to hear more?" We nodded eagerly. Baba meditates for long hours and sometimes for days. He keeps the sacred fire always burning and daily ponders upon the scriptures. Then she turned to me. "You have come all the way from America to be a sadhu. I honor your bravery. I will pray that you will achieve your goal." Before saying goodbye, she placed in my palm an unusual sweet made of translucent green pumpkin cooked with crystallized sugar. It immediately melted in my mouth, bursting with flavor. I had never tasted anything like it. Seeing my reaction, she said softly, "This sweet is called Petha. Do you like it?" "This is my very first sweet in India," I replied. "It's amazing. But do ascetic yogis eat these?" She smiled like a mother toward her curious child. "You will be surprised to see what yogis may eat." The next day, I returned to the Baba's cave. After some time, my Nepalese friend left me alone with Tatwala Baba, who sat immersed in his meditation. The whole night passed, yet he did not move. Absorbing his peace, I meditated close by. The sun rose, gently illuminating the green Himalayan jungles with a veil of gold, exposing the higher mountains in the distance, considered by many to be the abode of God. Far off, I could see Mother Ganga winding her way down from the heights to the plains, through forests and valleys spotted with sages performing their worship on her banks. From my place on a straw mat, I gazed below into the lush foliage, and as time passed, I began to notice large, colorful snakes coiling through the jungle looking for prey. I saw wild elephants grazing on the trees, and even the occasional spotted leopard moving through the green. A picture flashed through my mind of my neighborhood in the Chicago suburb of Highland Park, with its flat, manicured terrain, children boarding the bus to school, and parents driving off to work. I couldn't believe where I was. Nearby to the Baba's cave were other caves, where several of his ascetic disciples resided and where I lived for some days. Inside Baba's cave, inhaling the astringent smoke from the sacred fire that burned through day and night, I felt purified. As he sat with his back erect, Baba would read from scripture for about 3 to 5 hours. For the rest of his time, he was immersed in meditation. If he rested at night, he woke several hours before sunrise to meditate, study, and perform yogic asanas. In mid-morning, he wrapped his matted hair into a huge coil on the top of his head and took me to bathe in a stream and collect a pot of water. On the way back, he collected herbs and fruits for sustenance and wood for the fire. Once I saw him effortlessly lift a huge log and carry it back to his cave. On one early morning, as the trilling of birds filled the forest, Baba, through our Nepalese translator, gave me a good jolt. "I welcome you to spend the rest of your life in our caves. This is my invitation to you." He then closed his eyes, entering into a trance. His words reverberated in my mind while I pondered the seriousness of the decision I had to make. One morning I came out of my meditation and thought, it would be a blessing to live under the guidance of such a holy man in this sanctified forest. Still, if I dedicate myself to following a guru, I should never disgrace him by changing my mind later in life. I wish to find a master and a path that I can dedicate my life to. I asked myself whether I was certain that he was my master and this my path. Moments of thought passed. Then the answer came. I had experienced great inner awareness and inner joy while meditating with Tatwala Baba. Still, I was uncertain. There was a pulling in my heart to meet holy people of India and visit the sacred places, to experience the many varieties of spiritual paths. Then, and only then, would I feel I could make the most crucial decision of my life. My mind rested, feeling that this was an honest approach, but I had to be careful about how I revealed my decision to Tatwala Baba, for I was not dealing with an ordinary human, but an extraordinary man with supernatural powers. Several days passed in this way. In his company, my meditation brought indescribable experiences. Finally, when I was about to reveal my thoughts to him, he already knew. Before I could open my mouth, he spoke the words I planned to speak. Soberly, he gazed into my eyes and extended his palm. Goodbye. May God be with you. Tat Sat. And that's the end of the 4th chapter of the 2nd act of the journey home. Thank you for listening with me. I'm very grateful that we had a chance to explore such a close contact with Tatwala Baba. He is a yogi that had deeply made an impression on me in the past. I wonder if they included a picture of him in the front of the book. It doesn't look like it. Oh, just kidding. There is a picture. Let me show you. There he is. Yes. There is Tatwala Baba. Quite the yogi he is. Well, I look forward to continuing this journey with you as we read the 5th chapter of the 2nd act next time. But if you have any insights or reflections on this reading, you're welcome to explore them with me.